What's Nick's forecast is 26th of May, and market's starting to cool everywhere. Happen and in the news had today, Keller Williams mortgage arm, Keller Mortgage, are laying off people. So it's already starting to happen, and this is great for investors and buyers on Axios. And buyers just stopped, said agent in Boise, Idaho. Recently, one of the hottest markets in the country, he called it, drove an influx of buyers from West Coast flush with cash, courtesy of the market. Some new listings now sit for weeks without ever slowing. And so starting to just sit. Dallas, Fort Worth, basically open houses are dying up. They're not showing it like used to. Market's completely changed. Same thing if you're blah 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 blah. It's more subprime, non-crazy sales, and the non-prime. New home sales plunged in April, falling 6% to 591,000, well below economists' forecast of 750,000. Existing home sales just rates are going to keep going up, which is good. I'm glad. I want to see rates keep going up. Here, surge demands is dropping. Buyers are less conciliatory as far as giving whatever we want on the. They are. Now it's just everything up, and it's different in different areas. The same. It's a big Axios article. Go to Axios.com. Say it is in 2000 start falling, but it's going to happen because keep raising the rate. So, and I've been talking this for a while. I've known it longer, because what happened is the rates start going up. The rates need to go up another. I mean, half point. It's going to be more if they go up, and even though it'll get in the 7% plus range, 8%. I mean, 95, 94, 9. The conventional rates are 8.5%, 8%, 7.5. Generate 8% was about the average, 8.5. So that's pretty low. And then we got down and up towards 2,000 in that area. So everyone's artificially low for a line. But the thing is, there's opportunities out there to really hit it as far as the the opportunity coming up, and you may find them now too starting to slow up. And another thing too, I read another article in a different family news. There's a lot of people. Senior home housing is a big thing. Senior home housing, you got to really have your stuff together, but that's a potential market. Because you can get money from the government based on that. We get a certain set amount, kind of like Section 8. But multifamily homes is always good. Because the only thing is, if it gets really crushed, a lot of any apartments that are a lot cheaper, or that could be a potential problem, especially in the higher end type of stuff. I mean, you'll still rent them out because people are going to have to rent, but as the inflation goes up, numbers go up, and there's going to be a cause and effect. And diesel prices are way high, which is having an effect, and it's going to drive more to buy more for food and gas and all the other stuff, to buy more product. And the DTIs are basically, it's going to be hard for people to make it because people have credit cards, and that goes up ready to boom. There's another article I saw the other day talking about bonds, corporate bonds, because when that happens, when it does, the mortgage market's out, because a lot of the mortgages, they started going back into more subprime stuff or non-prime. They started going more into that in the last 4 years because there's a big market for it. You got stateds, all these great 100% loans, 80-20s, some are 90-10s. Some are even 100%. They had a couple in parts of the U.S. Because California's got more lenders than every other, because they have the biggest population, but they have more lenders than say more in Florida, New York, all day, every day, Texas too. And so you've got a lot of cool lenders that just don't lend outside of Southern California. They go as far as Bakersfield, because of population base, so they can do it. But that's starting to slow down. It's starting early suburb areas, country areas. There's opportunities to buy apartment buildings right now. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. There's more people work at home, but there's still a lot of businesses that, start businesses, but also too, since with employment, it's another, even though wages have gone up to get employees, but still, as inflation goes out of the pocket, that means there's less to spend for rent or mortgages, and that's key. And so, for a while, for investment longer, the market's going to loosen up, because soon it's going to be a bomb's going to hit in the mortgage. And when that bomb hits, it's going to make 2008 look pretty bad. And, like I said, worth of a debt bomb that happened, have been untalked about. They don't talk about it much. And there's more debt bomb. And that's just the way it is. I mean, if you do some of the treasury notes, like the I notes and stuff like that, which you can buy online, 7.17%, I think it was right. It was right in there, 7.2%. Some people were buying those, and people were buying their corporate bonds. But now, some people put out corporate bonds. You have to be careful, because some of them pull them off the shelf now, inflationary, and they're worried about it, and they're getting bad news on Wall Street. Even though Wall Street did pretty good today, up 472 points, I think, when I just looked at it. There's opportunities to buy, and so you have to look at your financing too, because today, after that financing at all, the mortgage companies went out of business. So, and there were a lot of fly-by mortgage companies, there were a lot of other mortgage companies that had a lot of cool products, but they just went out because of their market. They're not going to fund anything. They'll just back the hedge funds, advisory groups, mutual banks that have secondary market stuff, because that's where they really make the money. Now, I mean, Vanguard's got one. They have one basically AAA mortgages. So mortgage rate as far, I mean, the highest yield as far as mortgages, because they have the best ones. These are people with the highest credit, that kind of thing. Maybe Bob Brinker should talk about it on his weekend show for years and years and years. And I mean, you can go check it out and manage all the fun. There's some other mutual that, because they know those are solid, because they know the people are in a lot of debt out there. It's not solid. That a lot of these big companies are going to have what happened in the 2000s. A lot of them are moving the stuff into all kinds of other shell corporations, so it doesn't affect them. So it's bottom line, because that's what took a lot of these banks like Washington Mutual last time. So it's interesting to see, but it's kind of cool if you're an investor or buyer now, because markets have slowed up and hot anywhere, and there might be a few small pockets within. So like if you're living in a big city X, and this big city, you might have a certain area that might be or medium to high end, and it's got good schools or whatever everybody's looking for, and it might be a good place. Apartment buildings, that's just something you need to good areas, good street access, close to malls, that kind of thing. It's different when you buy a house. You buy a house, I always tell people, buy on a main drag. I don't know why people do this, and some agents are just jerks about it, because they're trying to force people into a home because they need a commission to pay their bills, and so they keep pushing it. If you're an agent, if you're doing that, you need to make sure they're at least a couple blocks off. I always tell people I'd say 2 to 3 blocks off of Main Ave. And that could be a different price on the street because of a zip code or whatever, but who cares? Because you want to put your people so they're not on a main access route. It's just only doing that. That's one. Maybe I have a house, don't. I've seen agents do this in the past, push people, and people have bought the house. Was the worst mistake they ever made, and the agent, they got complaints and just ticked off the the people they're working with. So you have to listen. It's an intensive thing, but it's different when you buy a commercial building than buying a house, because it's an apartment building or commercial building, you want it somewhere where it's close. Now, because there's a lot of commercial buildings that are off main street, 10 blocks or 5 blocks off the main street, and it depends company or finance company or real estate office, or you may do XYZ this or that or whatever. And I'm just being hypothetical, making it doesn't really matter. You might have a manufacturing business where you're going to have off the shelf that may be in there and you may not even know about it. Like warehouses, sometimes 6 miles off inside the area, but it might be a 1 million square foot warehouse or XYZ corporation or whatever you're doing. So, but also too, warehouses are a good thing. Getting the steel and putting those up, put cement down and get the foundation, putting those up is a really good thing, and rent those out for manufacturing. People manufacture do it, but the steel structures right now, because manufacturing warehouse space, that's a good business to get into. The elderly care home facilities where you might do something like apartment buildings. That's good to get into. You know what you're doing. It's just same thing. As long as you got a good agent after you build properties lease, not so much an adult house facilities. Yeah, because there's a lot of big companies out there doing it. I mean, even where I'm, the part of Missouri I'm at, Central Missouri, you've got Amazon's even putting a place in here, and like I've seen in Seattle, Amazon Fresh Prime in their warehouses, and St. Louis, Kansas City, they got a hub there. Chicago, they've got a few in Illinois, and so I mean, you got these different places, but actually put one in Central Missouri is kind of growing so much, so they can afford to put it here. Those are good because they got to lease some places out. They can have new, and you can to someone big. That's good to go. Problems, that's a good thing too. I know in LA they're trying to get as many up as they can. A million, 500,000 to 1 million plus square foot facilities, but they take time to build. They could build and build and build. For next, still would have enough space for all the stuff. So, but still, that's a good problem to have. That's something you should look at, depending on what part of the U.S. Because they're good. Also, storage units for like their boats or just storage. Those are a profitable thing too. Not like the companies like Public Storage that are pretty profitable, but especially in metropolitan areas. If you've got a piece of land or you got a knockdown, is to get a storage space units, because you can usually rent those out pretty quick and do it at a pretty decent nominal fee. But you can have all these different, like in Seattle, or like Seattle, Portland, LA, San Francisco, whatever, New York. They may have big buildings that they have where they have storage space too. And it's popular in these where they have stuff like that, where they have everything's inbound, but outside ones too. What most of those are built, but that's a big thing too, is storage or a warehouse space is big. The elderly homes big, and buying apartment buildings. I think right now those are potential areas. I'm kind of staying away from the commercial buildings because the economy goes bad. A lot of those renters are going to bail, but in the other stuff, people need that stuff. So I think that's a good thing. So ideas, check with your real estate attorney, your your accountant, check with your mortgage broker, to see what kind of terms you can get and why to build something out. Because of the market cooling, it's cooling for houses and certain things. So it's not like it's all because there's always going to be a real estate market. But for the investors that got the cash, first house or second house, you need to wait a little bit and you can get in. The only problem for buying second time, especially for first-time buyers, is going to be the DTI in the loan, and you can use VA great, FA loan, the conventional loans, or if you get an ARM, they're flat. Like if you get an ARM, make sure I would suggest, and I suggest that you want to get at least a 5-year or 7. I think they do have some areas you have ARMs, but mostly it's 5 and 7 years. I wouldn't your ARM, not wise, but you got to consult with your mortgage broker. But from the banks, unless you're rich and you got your multi-millionaire, then go to the banks and your credit lines. That's fine. But if you don't have the cap, you got a few million, and this is that, you still go to a mortgage broker because you can get a better deal. One, they're faster. Two, better appraisers and opportunity because they've got more stuff that you can use, more tools as far as loans, because that's all a loan is when you're investors. It's two buyers buying. You're just doing it so you can get the best deal into a property. So it's different. But, that's just kind of the name of the game, because it is kind of a game in a sense. But anyway, so if you got any questions, go to nickforecast.com. Go to Facebook at nickforecast. If you're looking for financing or commercial financing or payroll finance or factoring loans, go to cobrafunds.biz. You guys have a good one. Later.